The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien is a book that people either love or they hate. It meets a mixed reception, but you know what? I love it. I do see some comments where people go, well, it's really hard to read. I don't agree with that statement. It's not narrative fiction. You have to read it chapter by chapter. But I do find it interesting that people find it hard to read or connect with. The Silmarillion is part of the Legendarium, which was J.R.R. Tolkien's works of everything, basically. His work, his notes, his letters, his notebooks, everything. And it's a fascinating read because it goes through different realms of Middle-earth and into the continent itself of Middle-earth, and into the different characters and different mythologies of that. It's a collection of shorts. It's a collection of history and folk tales, and you can read a lot of the First Age stuff in novelization form. So if you don't want to go into the Silmarillion, I would recommend reading those works. So it breaks down into the creation of Middle-earth, into the years of the lamps, the years of the trees, the First Age, the Second Age, the Third Age, and Fourth to Sixth Age, to present middle day, from present day to modern life. You see the falls of great continents, you see these characters and the histories of these characters. This is the actual prequel to Lord of the Rings. There's also the unfinished tales and countless other little books of notes where have countless stories that are fantastic about Middle-earth. Through the creation of the world, through the characters, through everything that happens, you see the growth and what would become. The Silmarillion, and I will agree, is a little dry in places, but it's a great way of reading it, and it's a great way of learning the history of Middle-earth. The Silmarillion is important because it gives you that backbone and insight into a lot of what created the world that the Lord of the Rings takes place in. Amazon are not adapting the Silmarillion or any works relating to this. Again, they're not adapting, really, they're not telling Tolkien's story. But this is Tolkien's story. When it first came out, it did get some negative reviews, and I will say that I can see the criticism. It was criticised for being too seriously, lacking the light-hearted moments to be found in The Lord of the Rings, especially The Hobbit. And I do agree it's very serious, but it is a history book of short tales and information. It's not meant to be a narrative piece of fiction. And like I said, you can read a lot of the First Age stuff separately in novel form now, thanks to Christopher Tolkien. This book will give you insight into a world which is rich and powerful. Thousands upon thousands of years of history. It's absolutely stunning to read. And I will recommend the audiobook version. The narration is beautiful, and it really does bring this to life in a way that sometimes is not possible when you read it yourself with your own voice. It's just the nature of it. The Legendarium is this huge piece of work. It's a body of work that's unpublished in his lifetime. It forms the background of The Lord of the Rings, and it's a spectacular thing. It's documented in here, the 12-volume History of Middle-earth, and it goes back to the history of, Tolkien started writing it in 1914 with poems and stories and sketches and drawing maps, inventing languages, and named as a private project to create a unique English mythology of stories, aka the Book of Lost Tales, by the way, which is stunning. He revised and rewrote those in his adult life. The Hobbit, when first published, was not originally part of the large mythology, but came linked to it. Both The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, 1954 and 1955, took place in the Third Age of Middle-earth. And while the vast majority of the earlier writings, the first two ages, are in other forms. The Silmarillion is an important piece of backbone to that work, to that body, to that, and I would love them to put out the entire Legendarium in one massive thing. Imagine having a complete, everything unedited as it was. And they do exist, by the way. And Tolkien went to this amazing length to present his work as a collection of documents within the fictional world, which I think is an absolutely brilliant way of doing it. It's not him telling you about it. It's not him sitting down and telling you about Middle-earth and the stories. It's written in the context of, this is the history of Middle-earth, and, well, parts of it, other continents, other realms, the races, the characters. This is a huge body of work, and the Silmarillion is a small part of it. And I do find it hilarious that people just breeze over these works and just focus on The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, when his unfinished tales, the Silmarillion and other notebooks and other things, the Lost Tales, so on, are equally as important. It goes into the topics of nature of evil, the origin of the orcs, which are corrupted elves. The orcs are not a minority. I just want to specify that one, because that idiot online, dear God, she really needs reality check. The customs of the elves, the means of elven rebirth, the flat world, the story of the sun and moon. These are just stunning works. And I do love that little note that Christopher Tolkien inserted himself into the fictional place of Bilbo as editor and collector. You can, to partly reinforce the mythological effect of this, you are reading, could be history, it could be mythology, it could be a mix of both. But the Silmarillion, or Silmarillion, however you pronounce it, depends on where you go, everyone says it slightly differently, is a beautiful piece of work and everything else that goes around it. So, I will recommend going out there, listening to it, going into audiobook or watching it or whatever you want. Just go for it. If you are struggling to read the text, there's plenty of audio versions, there's plenty of analytical discussions about it. Don't use the Tolkien Society or the OneRing.net for your analytical discussions, because they will do nothing but project modern ideology within the work which isn't there, and it loses its historical context of when it was written. So, tell me what you think in the comments below. I will talk to you guys later, and have a wonderful day.